There's also like bags of milk in Canada, which
isn't that crazy?
It's like stupid.
The boom!
Double chocolate chunk cookie.
That's good. That's crazy.
And a chicken bake. Boss. Mr. Wilkins.
So tall. Thank you.
It's like Omas.
Look at, wow.
Yeah.
I'm just like your hero, Omas.
Yeah, thank you. I think we should go ahead and start, Chris. Guys, my name's Malcolm. I'm here with a very tall man.
Wow, look how tall I am.
Super tall.
Thank you for giving me this tall chair.
You're welcome. I like to put my guests over almost in every, you know how we do. I'm with the Joe Rogan of wrestling interviews, the tribal chief of wrestling content.
Who are
Christopher
you
Van Vliet.
That is too kind, and none of that is true. But
You're like the OTC, then I can be like Solo, the real tribal chief. Yeah.
Did you get the memo that we only wear black T-shirts when we do interviews?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I didn't even realize that had become my uniform, but that is, I guess, my uniform.
Kind of is, man. You got the nice shoes on. I know they can't see it, but the shoes are looking crisp.
I was doing some DDPY
I was about to
yesterday,
put the mic to the shoe as if it was going to talk.
It might. I don't know.
You never know.
I got a little bit of limberness after doing some DDPY yesterday.
Yeah, so you worked out with DDP, which is nuts in itself. How's working out with him? How intense is he as a coach, I guess, instructor?
Well, so the funny thing about DDP is he like owns his age. So instead of saying he's 68, he'll be like, I'm 6 months from 69. I'm like, you're already looking ahead. I love this. The workout's intense. He calls it DDP's Gauntlet. And he's put so many different wrestlers through it. He's starting to put together this like series on his YouTube channel. Yeah. It's a cold plunge followed by hypoxia training on a bike, which is like increased oxygen followed by like all your oxygen's cut off. Then a ton of oxygen followed by cuts off. Yes, crazy.
Oh no.
Followed then by DDPY, which is like his workout on the mat. Like he calls it get down on the mat. And then it was the power cuffs workout, which is a blood flow restricted workout. Yeah. So like the pump you get, we did buys and chest. But like all the blood's cut off as you're like doing this pump, so all the blood rushes into your muscles. Crazy, and he outworked me. Like, of course he did. He's a beast.
He's DDP, former WCW champion. Yo, oh my. Okay, one, that's crazy. No oxygen.
It's a crazy workout.
I don't.
You have this you have a mask on, and you can see like your oxygen. I think normally this is very scientific, but DDP was telling me all about it. Normally you're breathing like 21% oxygen. Yeah. He will take it down to like 10%, and you feel it. You're like gasping for air. Yeah. And then he'll hit you with 100% oxygen. You feel like $1 million. Then he takes it away, and it's a good way to like send all the oxygen to your brain, the blood. Oh yeah, it was a heck of a workout. The thing is, DDP makes you feel like you can do anything. That's the thing.
No, I can't. No,
you can.
I cannot.
Look at the size of this man. Come on.
No, I mean, 300 pounds win against AJ Francis, came in second place. Number 2.
Out of how many?
Out of 2, of course. But it doesn't really matter. I mean, it's either gold or silver at the end of the day. That's all it has to be. Took a big choke slam. It hurt a lot.
I know. Cool, man.
Thanks. No, not congrats.
No, but so many people talk about doing it. You actually did it.
It hurt.
Yeah.
I'm never going to do it again.
Don't never say never.
We could wrestle. Survivor Series weekend. Book it, Indies. Yeah, bring us Indies.
It is my home country.
And I like maple syrup. So all I'm saying is it's very possible.
But if we were wrestling in Canada and I'm Canadian, I'd just be like, oh, sorry about that. Oh, sorry about that. Oh, sorry about that.
I think that's a Canadian thing.
Yeah, all the Canadians are going to be like, we don't actually sound like that.
And then I'll have the Canadian bacon and I'll hit you with it and it's just ham. It's just ham. There's also bags of milk in Canada.
Isn't that crazy?
It's stupid.
It's weird. But we grew up thinking that was perfectly normal.
It's a bag of milk.
Every family had the milk scissors. A very specific small set of scissors that you cut off the end of the milk so you could pour the milk out of the jug.
It's this thing called a carton, and you untwist it, and you just pour it normally, and then you put it back.
Not an option in my country.
How do you put it back if it's like a bag and you cut off?
So the bag sits inside like a jug.
Ew.
Yeah.
That's gross.
And the jug has a handle on it. Yeah. Every family had one of these jugs.
Oh, well, you could just put the milk in the jug, and then you don't have to worry about anything else.
So you're pouring the milk?
Yeah. You want to talk about wrestling? Chris Dynamite just had their 5th-year anniversary. You were on the first ever Dynamite.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this. I played a role in that as well. I was an audience. So paid a ticket, you got paid. It doesn't matter. How was it like being on the first ever Dynamite?
It was wild being part of what that was.
Yeah.
Because this was the first wrestling television show on TNT in 18 years. I played the tiniest little minuscule part of that, but to be part of that night and to see how it was all, put together, because I was there at the production meeting the night before,
wow,
which was also pretty crazy. There was a table at the head of the room,
head of the table,
but there was Cody and there was Tony Khan and there was the Bucks and there was Kenny, and they kind of ran the meeting and went through all right, so this thing's gonna happen.
Side question: who was sitting at the head of the table?
Well, all 5 of them were sitting there
Too many tribal chiefs, honestly.
I'm gonna be honest. Cody ran that meeting. He did. Yeah.
So Cody is the tribal chief, and he beat the tribal chief.
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if they're tribal chiefs in AEW, but Cody ran that meeting. So it was cool to see how all of that was put together. Then we get to the venue that day, and that's the kind of a cool thing too. You're seeing it all being built in front of you, and you're seeing the matches being put together. And I had this segment that Christopher Daniels was producing. So he's walking us through oh, you're going to do this, and then you're going to do this. These people are going to come over here, and you're going to say this. That was all really cool. And then it happened. It was so quick. And then that's it. It was over.
Wow.
Then I watched the rest of Dynamite in the back, on the big screen in the back. It was really cool, man, just to be part of that night. And to be part of, I think people forget that in 2019, wrestling fans were so starved for something else.
Yeah.
So starved for just any sort of alternative. And AEW coming in and hitting the ground running as hard as they did, it was just a really exciting time. And then I was on, people forget this, I was on a few episodes later.
I know.
In Charleston, West Virginia.
Yeah. I see. I'm hip. I do my research.
Episode 5 as well.
Yeah. Wow, that's crazy. You know what's how come we haven't seen you get into an actual wrestling ring and have a wrestling match?
Nobody wants to see that. That's why.
I do.
Nobody wants to see that.
I do. Van Vlieters rise. We all do.
Is that what they're called?
Van Vlieters, yes.
I trained to be a wrestler. I've told this story many times when I was 20.
Yeah.
So I know how to take a bump. I know how to run the ropes. And, I can lock up and do the whole thing. I haven't gone as far as to put together a match. I don't think that at this point in time, anybody wants to see that.
Van Vlieters? Rise?
That is not a thing, okay?
Van Vlieters.
That's not,
Rise.
That's not a...
We all want to see it.
I mean... No.
If Chris Van Vliet could wrestle 5 current wrestlers, who would they be and how would he squash them?
All 5 of them?
All 5 at the same time.
It's got to be The Rock, right?
We squash The Rock is crazy.
Of course. So The Rock... Look, I'm not winning any of these matches. Let's be honest here, okay? But I will take 5 L's to The Rock. We consider him a current wrestler,
kind of, sort of.
Okay, so The Rock. I'll take an L to Cody.
Okay.
And he's the champion. So oh my gosh, somehow CVV got a championship match against Cody Rhodes. Doesn't make any sense, but there it is.
Thing is, it's possible at this point. Anything can happen. Logan Paul wrestled him.
Yeah.
You could wrestle him. Well, we'll talk about Logan Paul in a little bit. Keep going.
Gonna have to have a match against Randy Orton.
Yeah.
Just because it'd be insane to take an RKO. Right?
Your list is crazy.
We
just shooting high.
I'm losing all these people, so it doesn't matter. I have to go Will Ospreay just because I'm so impressed with everything he does in the ring. Will, is it okay if I just lay there and you just do the stuff? I'll just lay there. Do the things.
Elbow.
Oh, I don't know how he does the hidden blade.
It's disgusting. It looks like it hurts and kills.
It's crazy. And then,
Omos.
So he probably an honorable mention to Omos.
That's crazy. Honorable mention.
The 5th spot.
Solo Sikoa. Right?
Probably gonna go with.
Right?
I gotta go with Roman Reigns.
Okay, that's a little fake ass tribal chief, I guess.
List, right?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. You picked the wrong tribal chief, but anywho,
so I lose to all of them.
Yeah, that's
great.
Fine.
0 for 5.
Yeah, that's fine. It should have been Solo, but we move on.
Yeah, honorable mention.
I want to talk about some other influencers that also got into a wrestling ring and that will eventually get into a wrestling ring. AJ, the Costco Guys.
Yeah.
He's having an AEW match. They just announced it. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah.
Him and QT Marshall at some point are going to wrestle. What's your thoughts on him bringing the boom to AEW?
The boom!
Double chocolate chunk cookie.
That was good. Well, people forget that he was actually a wrestler.
Yeah, he
so
was.
this isn't just like some guy on TikTok coming in and having a match.
Yeah.
This is a guy who used to work on the indies who's having another match just on a much bigger scale. Look, I think that if you can take any sort of fame that you have and translate that into more eyeballs, I think that's a great thing. People will be watching. And I think that it's kind of like the Logan Paul thing where a lot of people want to see him win. A lot more people want to see him lose. Mm-hmm. It's like when Jake Paul boxes, right? It's the same thing. So I think whether you love AJ and Big Justice, I guess Big Justice will also be.
Yeah, he is all elite as well.
Yeah.
And a chicken bake.
Yeah.
I love him. I love it's like cringe to the perfect level.
If you can take one video on TikTok and turn it into, even if it's just a year or 2 or 3 of success, look at the Hawk Tua girl.
Yes.
Right?
Yo, like, she has a podcast. Talk to her. Oh my God. I love
Let me talk to you. If you can turn your 15 minutes or that one thing, that one catchphrase, like think of all the other catchphrases like hide your kids, hide your wife, or like anything like that. If you can turn that into some sort of money for some period of time, man, more power to you.
It's amazing, honestly. And like,
who wins that match, by the way?
Who? Hawk Tua girl and AJ? We're talking about AJ and QT Marshall. I feel like it has to be AJ.
You think? Because this might be his last match.
It probably will be.
And
but
then usually if it's your last match, you go out looking at the lights.
I mean, that's what happened to me, so I understand. But
well, that was your last match?
Yeah, I'm retired. 0-2, baby. Anywho, I think AJ has to win because I want to see him like hit the boom and then nothing but pyro, just like raining pyro from the backdrop. And it's just Big Justice running around. Chicken bake, chicken bake, chicken bake. Oh my God, I need it. God bless America.
Sounds like you've already booked it.
I think I already did. I think I've been prepared for this for the last 25 years of my life. I'm 25 years old. But anywho, Logan Paul, I want to talk about him. I feel like that's a guy that you should be interviewing. How come we have not seen the Logan Paul interview, and will we see it in the future?
I feel like it needs to happen. Like, he's born and raised in Cleveland. Cleveland is my American hometown. It's the first American city that I lived in when I moved to the U.S. I love Cleveland through and through. It will happen at some point in time, but when you look at it, I mean, Logan Paul really hasn't done a lot of interviews.
Not a lot.
At all. So that's one that will happen at some point in time, I'm sure, when when he does any sort of interviews. Whether you love him or you hate him, you cannot argue with the fact that he is born to do this.
Yes.
Like, insanely athletic. And when you look at most people's first match, second match, 12th match, 50th match, there's always little things that they should work on. Like, they're moving too fast. They're not selling realistically. The look on their face, like their facial expressions are like, yeah, that doesn't look like a wrestler. From like match number 1, you're like, this guy gets it.
Right.
And that was a tag team match. And then when he worked his way to like the first singles match, you're like, oh my gosh, like this is, dude, he wrestled Roman Reigns.
And it was a great match too, by the way. Let's talk about it. Like, that match was phenomenal. I don't even like Logan Paul like that, but that match was so good.
Yeah. So that's an interview that I think will happen at some point in time. And I mean, it'll just be really interesting. I want to hear his psychology of how he approaches wrestling. Yeah. Because it seems like it comes too easy to him.
Does.
Yeah.
Almost too easy. Like, the guy is so talented, and it's like he didn't really grow up a wrestling fan. Yeah. He didn't really know the business besides knowing like The Rock and Cena and like the big names and stuff.
I feel like there's an added layer to what he's doing that not everybody maybe is keyed in on. Yeah. Like when he's saying things like, what do you mean a work? What do you mean? I feel like he knows exactly what Hulk Hogan's talking about in that clip. Mm-hmm. I feel like part of his character is like trying to get hardcore fans to not like him. Yeah. So when he says stuff like that, or when he mispronounces a name, I feel like it's done intentionally. And I feel like it's done so that people will boo him even more.
And I know that he knows it because he had that little beef with Kevin Nash online, and he talked about a work and a shoot in his promo on Twitter. So I'm like, he actually knows what he's talking about. Yes. He's just really good at marketing. But oh my gosh, like, I would love to see you interview him. Who are some other guys or girls that you like to interview on your podcast? They're from the WWE, AEW, etc.
There's still a bunch. So
are you sure? you interviewed them all. You're running out of people.
I haven't done a full interview with Stone Cold. I've done some virtual interviews with him, like when he's promoting a TV show or movie. I've done 2 of those, but I haven't done like the sit down. Like, I'd love to sit down, like have a glass of beer, a glass of wine.
Glass is crazy. Glass of beer.
I was gonna say glass of. I was gonna say a beer, but I'm like, he doesn't drink beer that really much anymore. So a glass of wine. I'd love to just sit down and just like share a conversation with him. Sting's another one.
Oh, okay.
That hasn't happened. Triple H.
Oh, yeah.
Randy Orton.
You haven't?
No.
That's surprising. Honestly.
That one, we've sent some messages. Like that one, I feel like it's going to happen at some point in time.
Okay.
Shawn Michaels, which was supposed to happen. That was supposed to happen.
I just assume you already did.
That was supposed to happen last week, and then last second did not come through.
You know, NXT was busy going on CW and stuff, you know.
But that was, we were supposed to do the interview that was promoting that. Like,
oh, we're going to talk about those. Yeah, let's talk about that in a second.
So there's still quite a few. Like, I still haven't done like Kevin Owens or Sami Zayn. Like, there's still a bunch.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So, look, 2025. I'll try to make that happen.
Your list in general, though, like, let's talk about it. Like, John Cena, Goldberg, John Cena again, The Rock again, The Rock again, The Rock again. Jesus, bro.
Look, it is not lost on me that...
Let us eat too.
Look, I'm clapping for everybody, man. That's the best part about this. Yeah. It's like there's room for everybody to do 100%. This. This was so cool. But it is not lost on me that I have the opportunity to share conversations with the people who I looked up to as a kid. Like, dude, sitting across from like Rey Mysterio and just being like,
that was a good one.
Hey man, can we talk about Halloween Havoc? He's, oh man, that's one of my favorite matches. I'm like, yeah, me too.
The whole world loves that.
Yeah. So like talking to Hulk Hogan about WrestleMania 18 and like that's my favorite match, and like being able to talk about the intricacies of that match. It's insane. Like, and it is not lost on me at all.
That's amazing, man. Like, for people that are also trying to work their way up to those kind of positions where you can just interact with John Cena and have those hour-long conversations, which is crazy. Yeah, like, crazy. That's crazy that happened. Congratulations. You've earned that.
It's crazy.
How can people work up to that kind of level that are trying to figure out, like, how do I even get to the point of being in the same room to have that kind of conversation with a guy like John Cena?
Do what you're doing. That's it. It's find a way to be in the same city as those people, then find a way to be in the same room as them, then try to find a way to get to that yes. So, I mean, I've seen you at so many indie shows where you're like, man, the Hardy Boys are here. I'm hoping that maybe I could get a minute or two with them, and then you somehow find your way to, like, you know, get that time with them. That's it. It's finding the way, like, to get into the room. And even if it's a no right now, maybe it's a yes in 6 months or a year or 2 years. But it's making yourself available. Like, so much of my career has been, hey, man, I see that you're doing this show, like Chris Jericho. You're doing this show in this part of Florida that's 5 hours away from me. If I were to come there, would you be able to do an interview? Well, man, I guess if you came here, I could find some time for you. Okay, I'm there. 5 hour drive up, 5 hour drive home, like for whatever that was, a 20-minute interview or something. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's take the opportunities that are in front of you right now. And if you've never interviewed anybody before and you want to interview wrestlers, go to your local independent wrestling show. Talk to the promoter and ask, like, if you could talk to any of their talent. Start there. Like, start where the opportunities are right in front of you and then build on it from there. The most important thing is consistency.
That's true.
And as long as you keep showing up, your audience will start to, and then they will start to keep showing up as well.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I mean, it really is the case. I just stood around for about 4 hours before I got Jey Uso today.
There it is.
Sweating. It was a lot. What's your productivity looking like? Like, I want to talk about your setup. You've been very kind to let me use your lights for this kind of interview. I see your camera bags all over there. Many cameras. Big money. What's your production looking like?
Oh, you want to get, like, real nerdy here?
Yes.
Okay.
I know there's some geeks that are like, yes, this is the content.
I'm shooting on Sony A7 IV cameras.
Uh-huh.
And I'm using the Zoom H4n audio recorder.
Oh, that's hot.
Plugged into some Shure SM7B mics.
Oh, boy.
Got these lights off of Amazon. And I actually have a very similar tripod that you have.
Shout out Joby.
I'd say most of the time I'm setting it up. Well, not most of the time. Half the time I'm setting it up myself.
Okay.
And just hoping the shots, like, work. And then the other half of the time, I'm renting that great studio, West Coast Creative Studio in Hollywood. Shout out to my buddy Zeus, who owns the studio. An amazing space. And I think that on top of what we were just talking about, perception is reality. So if your stuff looks like garbage and sounds like garbage, like you don't have a good mic, you have a great mic here. Like, listen to that.
There we go.
Wow.
Shout out.
If your stuff looks and sounds like garbage, people will think it's garbage. If it looks and sounds great, just their first impression of it will be like, oh, wow, the production value is really good here. So, like, people will be tuned into that.
That's fair. That's fair. I want to ask you a question about something that came out recently, and that's the Netflix documentary on Vince McMahon, Mr. McMahon, the documentary. What was your thoughts on that? I feel like, personally watching it, it wasn't made for someone like me who watches a lot of wrestling, knows the history of WWE, understands what went on in to those kind of details. What was your thoughts on the documentary?
I'm just really curious what people's expectations were, because I saw so many wrestling fans that said we knew everything, which is not true. There were a lot of things in that documentary that were presented for the very first time. Like Vince McMahon talking about Chris Benoit. It's the first time he's done that in 17 years. So like that was new. And them talking about the Stephanie McMahon pregnancy storyline. Wild. Like there was a lot of new stuff. So when people say we learned nothing new, like that is clearly an exaggeration. I think this was made for the average Netflix viewer. And you've got to assume that people that are watching Netflix, they're probably not wrestling fans. No. They might be aware of what wrestling is. Maybe they're a lapsed fan, but I think it's definitely made for more of those people. Like if you know the ins and outs of this, it's just kind of rehashing some of the information that you know there. But there was a great quote in the final episode that was saying like, essentially, I'm paraphrasing here, but essentially like it's difficult to wrap your head around this, but it might be possible that Vince has created this thing that we all love and appreciate, and at the same time be a despicable human being, and like those two coexist at the same time. And I was like, that sums up the whole documentary.
Yes.
Like right there. But I would just love to know what people's expectations were. Like, what were people expecting?
What were you expecting?
I was just expecting to learn about, like, he's quite literally the Wizard of Oz. Like, he's the man behind the curtain.
Yes.
Like, the literal curtain. I just, like, he never does interviews. Like, that interview we did with Pat McAfee a few years ago.
That's like the last one.
And that was one of his first interviews in, like, the last 10 or 20 years. I don't know the exact number. Yeah. It was just like, how does his brain work? Because it clearly works on a different level than like mine or yours. Yeah. And I think that was what was really interesting about the documentary. Like, and when he's explaining the whole thing about like, I'm a computer and this brain is doing this while this brain's doing this and the third brain's thinking about other things. I was like, okay, all right. I just would like to know what people's expectations were, because they were clearly not met by like hardcore wrestling fans. Although I've had a lot of friends of mine who are like, dude, I know you like wrestling. I binged that Mr. McMahon thing. That was fascinating, man. And I'm like, yeah, maybe you're the audience and not like, you know, the people who are going to be watching Raw when it comes to Netflix.
That's understandable. Now, here's the most important question that doesn't have to do with the documentary. Who is your tribal chief? Roman Reigns, or the correct answer, Tongaloa?
Are you trying to like get into the bloodline? Like, is that why
I'm already in it?
You are?
Kinda.
Who? Oh, is this tribal? Yes.
Goosebumps.
I'm gonna go with Paul Heyman.
What?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, if you think about it, none of this is possible without Paul Heyman being, you know, the kind of the guy pulling the strings and making everything happen here.
Chris, here's a better question, right? Top.
They've all been good.
They've all been great. Yeah, I know. I'm a great interviewer. Top 76 Omos matches in chronological order.
Wow. Well, I think you got to start off with Omos versus, and then from that, and then
fill in the blanks.
After that one, there's the WrestleMania match with Omos and Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
And then after that, I think you go.
I think the one with Bobby's above the Brock one.
That for sure.
And then the New Day one's above that.
If we're talking 76 matches,
yeah,
then you got to go to Omos, and then after that one, there's.
You're like missing the other names.
You just can't hear it.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
They got you.
Yeah.
Good microphone. That's fine.
That's
yeah.
right.
Okay. Interesting. What was your favorite John Cena match?
Wow.
He hasn't wrestled Omos, so I know it's kind of hard. But he has wrestled Solo Sikoa, Crown Jewel, baby. I just figured that was your answer.
I think the easy answer here is the CM Punk match.
That's an easy one, but give me a better one.
Then I'm going to go with RVD.
Oh, okay. That's actually good.
One Night Stand. Like, when you look at just the technicality of the match and the storytelling in that match, like, and no one could predict. Like, obviously, they knew Cena was going to get booed.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody thought it was going to be, like, that hostile as it was. There's something about him. I'm getting goosebumps. Look at that. I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about it. That's crazy.
Final boss.
The way that Cena sold that entrance too, like putting his head down and like being like, I'm clearly walking into enemy territory. And then getting out to the ring. The match hasn't even started. He's trying to throw his shirt into the crowd and do his thing. And they're throwing it back.
Yeah.
Throws it back out. And the dude wipes his ass with it. It's like, man, like they could have ended the match right there and we would have been happy.
Underrated one, 2007 Royal Rumble, him and Umaga. That one.
Fantastic.
Oof. Yeah. Absolutely loved it.
Absolutely.
But we still haven't seen John Cena and Omos. So once that happens, then we'll have a new favorite, right?
That's
correct.
Certainly going to be a match.
What do you mean by that? That felt
that's true. It's going to be a match.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
That happens.
There's undertone. The undertone felt a little I didn't like it very much. What advice would you give for young creators that are also trying to get to the position you're in? Obviously, I know you said before of like being consistent and whatnot, but if they're like starting fresh, haven't even made a YouTube video, what's your advice for them?
Start where you're at. So you're probably watching this on your phone right now. That is your video camera. That is your microphone. You don't need to, oh man, I'd start if I could buy that Sony A7 IV that Chris was talking about. Man, I could start if I could buy that Shure SM7B mic that he was mentioning. Start where you're at and know that your first piece of content is going to suck a lot. And then your second piece of content is going to suck, but not as much as your first piece of content. And then you're going to get a little bit better every single time that you do it. But the key is to just keep doing it. If you truly want to do it, set some sort of a schedule. Once a week, once a month, whatever works with your life and everything you have going on. But set that schedule and keep to it like it's a job. So if it's once a week, it's every Monday or it's every Friday or whatever it happens to be. And no matter what's going on in your life, you put it out and you figure it out. I think that's the most important thing.
I have learned so much today. One, Chris is an Omos hater for one.
I said he's a wrestler.
Nah,
wrestles matches.
Nope, we heard it. Hate in his heart is what I heard today.
Love Omos.
Sure you do. So is Solo Sikoa your tribal chief?
I told you, it's Paul Heyman.
Is Solo Sikoa your tribal chief?
I've been meaning to ask you. Your thumbnails look very familiar. I can't quite put my finger. I feel like I've seen that format before. I just can't quite put my finger on.
You know what they call me on the streets, Chris Man, Black Man.
They do. Really?
Yep.
I haven't heard that one.
They sure do.
You know, with the guest on the left, because everybody knows that you read a thumbnail left to right in the same way that you would read a book.
You said that on a Denise interview, and I actually listened because I pay attention.
Thank you.
See?
And then you got the action shot in the middle there, and then you got you on the right.
Chris Van, Black Man.
And then you got the big name on the bottom.
Chris Van, Black Man. Yes. Guys, I'm Malcolm. This is Muscle Memory, not Insight, even though it might look like it. And we're out. Oh, yeah. Can they follow you on Instagram? At Chris Van Vliet. Follow him. Yeah, cool. Bye.
We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a MuscleManMalcolm. We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a MuscleManMalcolm. When it just like 1, 2, 3. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. If you like the channel, this will squeeze. Hey.